Hey guys, it's Brant and I'm back with another video, and this is a very special video. This video is the video that I'm making to commemorate my 1-year anniversary on YouTube. On February 27th, 2018, I made my first video. I made a Kiss video because of a YouTuber that I had discovered by accident just flipping through YouTube one day, and I saw Kiss album review. And I eventually went back and I watched this guy's whole catalog. That gentleman is Ralph Vieira, Dr. Fuck from Almost Human 56 channel, and he's the guy that inspired me to start making videos. So if it had not been for Ralph, I wouldn't be making videos right now. And I remember the very first video that I started at the beginning. I made a Kiss album review for the Kiss's debut album, and it looked a little bit like this. Hey guys, it's Brant from In My Head channel, and I'm making my first video today, and I'm going to be doing, in my first video, I'm going to be doing my first album review. And in my first album review, I'm going to be reviewing the first Kiss album. So we're going to have a good time, and so just let's get started with it. Now, my son told me one time when he saw that, he's like, oh, you know, you used to be like all stiff and everything and read from a script, and I still read from scripts. I don't have a script right now. I'm kind of flying for the seat of my pants. But when I do my Kiss album reviews, I have a script. But I was very stiff and very, this was Kiss's first album, and because I just had it in my mind that I was going to be, this video was going to be going out to everybody, or going out to anybody that watched it on YouTube, and could possibly go to 10 people or could go to 100,000 people. And I've had videos that have hit over 100,000. I had a video recently hit over 100,000, and I recently hit 1,000 subscribers. And so that's really cool. So I've put out, in the first year, I've put out over 100 videos, 120 somewhere around there. Not all of them's Kiss album reviews, because I also do other stuff, paranormal stuff, other music, reactions, tech stuff like that. So it's just kind of mind-boggling that where I went from and where I've came to in just a year's time. But so what I wanted to do is I wanted to do something to commemorate that, because I've not done it all by myself. I have worked hard and tried to put out the best videos as I could put out, but I've had a lot of help along the way from the very beginning and even more recently and everything. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to make a video talking about my first Kiss album, and when I got it, what it is, what it kind of means to me, any information like that, how old I was and stuff like that. And I wanted to include some other YouTubers, those who have helped me along the way, and just some, people who have been inspired me. So I was talking about Ralph Vieira, Almost Human 56, Dr. Fuck. I'll put the links to any of these channels that you see. If they have a YouTube channel, I'll put it down there in the description. You're welcome to please go check them out. If you're not subscribed to them, subscribe to them. If you're not subscribed to me, subscribe to me. Be one of the above 1,200. So I want to bring up my first person. We're going to bring up Dr. Fuck to show and talk about his first Kiss album. So here he is.
Hey Brent, thanks for having me on your episode. And the very first Kiss album I bought was Double Platinum. Now the story behind it: when I bought this, it was pretty new, and I wasn't really into music at the time. I was really into movies, but I did like Electric Light Orchestra, I liked Kansas, and I liked Black Sabbath, and maybe a handful of other, I was the type of guy that would go buy 45s, not vinyl, not albums, but that's changed. Anyway, so I was at a friend's house, and he played me I Want You from Rock and Roll Over, and it made me an instant fan. I couldn't believe how good it was. So I went out to buy the album, but I didn't, I couldn't find it, but I found this one. And it had I Want You, so I got it. And this is a very special album to me, and I had Paul and Gene sign it. Very special album to me. It was the first one I bought, and, it's got all the good stuff in there. I don't think it had an owner for him anymore. Lost that through the years. But yes, this is the original copy that I bought in 78, I think. And it's a very special album, double album, so I would listen to these songs over and over again where when I went back to listen to the original versions, not that they're bad, but I prefer the remix versions on here, with the exception of maybe, She and Rock Bottom. You know, that's kind of like, I prefer the Dress to Kill version. But, but I love the remixes. I love what they did with Dr. Love. I love what they did with Black Diamond and Strutter 78 is my favorite version. I even like it over the Kiss Alive version. It's just, timeline is everything. So double platinum is very special to me, and like I'm sure many of you out there, did any of you out there get a paper and trace the face and then, you know, just to see what they look like without the makeup? It was a special time, you know. Back then we all didn't know what they looked like, and the mystique was just awesome. I mean, they had everything. I was 13 at the time. To be 13 and a Kiss fan in 1978, you couldn't escape. My walls were plastered with their stuff. And, you know, years later I went back and listened to all the original versions, and they're all great. They are. You know, I'm not saying nothing bad about them, but this is the one. I prefer just about all the remix versions on this album. It's fucking awesome. So, this is my very first Kiss album, and in my opinion, the greatest compilation Kiss albums ever put out. So again, thanks for having me on, Brett. Take care and subscribe to this channel. Later.
Now, his experience of how he come to find out about Kiss kind of reminds me of my friend Scott Henderson, who's been in videos with me. He's reviewed a couple albums with me. And I was the guy that introduced him to Kiss. I was the guy, he had a very young age. He's a little bit younger than me. He'd come over to my house, and I'd be playing Kiss records. And so I introduced him to Kiss, and he's a huge Kiss fan. So, but yeah, I really appreciated him doing that for me and talking about his first album. The next person I want to bring up and talk about is a friend of mine that lives here in the same area I do. He's actually been in a couple videos with me. I think he's been in 3 with me so far. His name's Scott Rock. He's in a band, and he's a bassist in a band. And he's been a Kiss fan for a long time, and I was just recently over at his house shooting some footage. And we got to talking about, you know, his first experience. And while we were there, I just said, hey, dude, just let me set the camera back up. I'd already took the camera down. I'm like, let me set the camera back up and let you share your experience. But here's my friend Scott Rock talking about his first Kiss album.
Hey, Brant, thanks for having me. Talk about my first 2 albums and what they mean and where they came from. This is really cool. This is Destroyer and Love Gun, purchased on the same day at Peaches Records and Tapes in Fort Lauderdale on Sunrise Boulevard, which is now a Hustler store, Hustler of Hollywood. Yeah, this was a big thing because not only, you know, being 6 years old at the time, 7 years old, it was a this was, I mean, these were like superheroes. These were like something we've never seen before at that age. And I ended up getting both of these on the same day, and on the way out at the checkout there were the whole stack of 45s, and I ended up getting Donna Summer's Hot Stuff because that was popular at the time too. Anyway, I think my dad picked up Chuck Mangione or something like that. Anyway, but this right here, this is probably my all-time favorite album because it goes with the oil painting that I have. But these are the 2 that I bought. I mean, it was a great age. I know there was two things in the 70s that were bigger than all of us, was Star Wars and Kiss. And for right now, these 2 right here, these 2 albums probably, and these are the original ones that were purchased from that place in Fort Lauderdale, Peaches Records and Tapes. How did they last this long? I mean, through all the stuff that we've had through the years, the 2 things that you bought first of with Kiss, and these were signed at the convention as well, which was really cool. And why I don't have this in a frame, I don't know. Well, anyway, I've got so much Kiss stuff, it's almost like you don't appreciate it until someone comes over and checks it out. Anyway, that's it. My first 2 Kiss albums. It was a great time.
And once again, I share that same sentiment with him. I remember where I was when I got my first Kiss album. I remember what my first Kiss album was. And, it's one of those things that's kind of, I thought the same thing. I thought that they were superheroes. So, but yeah, I remember that same feeling you have when you got your first Kiss album. So we're going to go to my next contributor. Now, I've recently got to know this guy. I've discovered his channel maybe a few months ago, maybe 2 or 3 months ago. And he's kind of like the yin to my yang. I mean, I'm Mr. Grumpy Gills sometimes because I can be real kind of the pessimist Kiss fan. And people's like, oh, you're not a Kiss fan because you criticize them all the time. And I'm like, no, I criticize people in my family too. And they're still my family. But this guy, he's like one of the most happiest, go-luckiest, most positive vibe, guru type dudes that I've ever met. And so I just had to have him talk about his first Kiss album because I knew it'd be very entertaining and very positive. And so this is Rick from the channel It's All For You Demon. If you've not heard about Rick or not seen the channel It's All For You Demon, the link's down in the description. You definitely need to check this guy out. He has a bunch of Kiss albums. He has a bunch of memorabilia. Bunch of vintage memorabilia. This guy makes me sick, some of the stuff he has. And I told him what makes me sick is I used to have most of this stuff, but I either damaged it, threw it away, or it got stolen. Happened to all of us. So here's Rick with him talking about his first Kiss album.
Hello everyone, my name is Rick from the channel It's All For You Demon, celebrating the fun of being a Kiss fan. And I have graciously been asked by my buddy Brant from In My Head to talk about my first Kiss record. To be completely honest, I wrestled with this topic because I became a Kiss fan very, very late. It was 1988. I was a freshman in high school, and this is a decade after the band's glory years. So I came in very, very late. And when I did, Smashes, Thrashes, and Hits was already out. And that was my first purchase. But my first real Kiss record, the one that I was there for, was 1989's Hot in the Shade. And I'm not going to lie, Hot in the Shade is in my top 5 favorite Kiss albums of all time. It's usually number 5, and whenever I say it, I get that kind of double look like, did you just say Hot in the Shade? Yes, I just said Hot in the Shade. And there is probably a lot of nostalgia to blame. I look back to 1989 and I just really did not like anything. I didn't like school. I didn't like home. My parents had just gotten divorced, and in our neighborhood, nobody's parents got divorced. So I kind of felt like the awkward kid out. And then my best friend, Dan Thompson, introduces me to this band he liked in 1978, and everything kind of fell in my lap. I suddenly had joy in my life. I had something to be a part of, and it was this great rock and roll band that I had discovered named Kiss, who, lo and behold, was about to release a new record. And I think the Hot in the Shade era was fun because the band was really embracing their roots. If you look back at the albums of the 80s, Asylum, Crazy Nights felt like they were really chasing that hair metal Sunset Strip scene, trying to get that hit single, trying to get that MTV video. Whereas Hot in the Shade, it was really more of a rock and roll record. Granted, it had its bumps and bruises, but fun nonetheless. And just the excitement of the time, the pre-internet days. My friend Dan and I would have to go to a grocery store called Food Barn, who had the best magazine selection, and thumb through every rock and roll and music magazine to get any information on what was going on with Hot in the Shade. And one of the funnest things that went on during the Hot in the Shade period were, granted it was a money grab, but Gene and Paul putting on their makeup again for the Rise to It video. Sure, it was a money grab, but for me, a brand new fan, only hearing about these makeup days, that was pretty badass. And all in all of the 80s non-makeup catalog, it felt like Hot in the Shade, and the tour that followed really put the Kiss train back on the tracks. Not to mention the Paul Stanley tracks on this record are some of my favorite Paul Stanley tracks of all time. You Love Me to Hate You, King of Hearts, Hide Your Heart, great Paul Stanley hooks, and they always remind me of my sophomore year. Maybe it is nostalgia that I like this album so much, because I know it is not a great Kiss record, but it is such a fun record for me. So many memories tied up in this record. I look at this record and I still see that 15-year-old kid who was sitting in the back of the class with a smile on his face because he belonged to something much bigger than him, and that was rock and roll. And that's really what dreams are made of, and that is the fun of life. Finding something to love, even better when it's a great rock and roll band. Thank you, Brant, for letting me be a part of this. Congratulations on your 1-year anniversary of YouTube. Your channel has grown so much in 1 year, and I'm very proud of you and very glad to call you a friend. Only the best for you, my friend. Onward and upward.
Like I said, there he is. You just want to give him a hug. You know, he's just so positive. Even though his first Kiss album was an album that I really don't like, me and him disagree on a lot of things. And I love disagreeing with people. If they can do it in a respectable manner, and if we can have a dialect or a conversation in an intelligent, non offending, throwing, words at each other. I love that. I love having differences of opinions. I have it with people that I have videos, that I do videos with. I'll score a song of 1 and they'll score it a 10. And, that's great, because that just shows that Kiss makes something that appeals to everybody. And, and like I said, Rick, I really love his stuff that he said there. And he does that a lot in his videos. That's kind of very typical of what you'd see in one of his videos on his channel. So definitely, Rick, I appreciate you, man. I appreciate the support you've given me and everything. So thank you for making that video for me. And like I said, I wish him the best too. He's a small channel. So go, if you're watching this video right now, go click on that link and give Rick some support. Okay? Let's get him to 1,000. Give that man some love, because he deserves it. He's definitely got some really good videos. So the next guy, YouTuber I'm going to be talking about, it's a guy that I've only recently become affiliated with and gotten to know, but he's given me so much support in just a little bit of time that I've known him. He's known as Leg, and his wife's in his videos too, Mrs. Leg, and they both love my videos. Somebody called me or sent me a text, I can't remember, and they're like, hey man, Nothing to Lose 75 just gave you this shout out. They mentioned like your Paul Stanley caught lip syncing video, and they mentioned it in the video and everything. And so I went and I looked and I found the video, and it's one I hadn't seen yet, and there it was. He was talking, hey, Brant from In My Head channel, and I was like, holy crap, it kind of blew my mind. So later, sometime shortly after that, he was having one of these awesome live things that he does on Friday or Saturday night. And his channel's called Nothing to Lose 75. Like I said, he's Leg and Mrs. Leg. And if you're not subscribed to his channel, definitely subscribe to it. Hit that down in the description there. He does these live feeds that are just awesome. You have a lot of fun. And so I just happened to pop in on one. And he saw me and he's like, hey, dude, you want to do a call in and talk about your video? So I called in, talked about it, had a good time. He pumped for people to subscribe to me. And I think I had like 200 or 300 subscribers in like the next 48 hours. So, dude, appreciate you. And your lovely missus, appreciate you a lot. And so we started talking, and I came up with this idea, and we've just been talking and communicating and everything. And so I just wanted to include him in this video, and so he was able to take time out of his busy schedule. Like I said, these guys have busy schedules, and they took time out of their schedules to do this for me. So once again, I really appreciate it. If you haven't subscribed to him, subscribe. So right now I'm going to let him talk about his first Kiss album.
So my first Kiss record is a difficult thing to remember. I don't know if I can remember it. I was born in 1975. Two brothers who were 5 and 6 years older than me. So when I was born, my brothers were already into Kiss. And so I don't have a memory in my life that I was not aware of Kiss. Like, as far back as my first memories, I remember Kiss. I made a video about it a long time ago. But yeah, the first record that I can remember us having in the house, though, was Hotter Than Hell. And I remember it because I remember, staring at that just staring at it amazed. Like, I was so young, I don't think I understood that Kiss was, like, guys wearing makeup. Like, I think I thought they really looked like that at that age. And, like, the Gene Simmons with the fire, the picture on the back with him doing the fire and holding a cup. I used to look at this stuff and just be like, why is he holding that cup? What is this supposed to mean? And, like, Ace in a weird laboratory. And I can remember sitting on the floor with tracing paper over that Hotter Than Hell record and tracing the cover of the record. So yeah, I'd say my first Kiss record was Hotter Than Hell. I was a little kid at the time, so it was more about the visual than the music back then. It was about the visual and that these guys had magic powers, and yes, Rock and Roll All Night was awesome. I knew that song. But we would also play the record and get Tyco racetracks, which I just totally dated myself, I think. And those would be the guitars. So you would like stand up in front of the stereo, put the record on, and act out the Kiss concert, and you could argue with your mate about who was going to be Ace or who's going to be Gene. I think most people wanted to be Gene back then. In my neighborhood anyway, when Gene was the crowd favorite, I think. Probably because he was the most scary, and he scared the little kid. They all scared me. Like, on one hand, I loved them more than anything, but on the other hand, I was also scared that they might come in my room and beat me up. If that makes any sense. So yeah, short story, Hotter Than Hell.
Now, I saw his video, and when he sent it to me, and I tell you what, I laughed about something he mentioned. I remember, and these guys are old, they're older, and I don't know how many of you are older Kiss fans that was around when the original Kiss was out, before they took the makeup off. I know all three of, all these guys I've had on so far have been. And I remember when Kiss, they seemed larger than life. They seemed like superheroes. They seemed like you didn't know what they looked like without makeup, and you just couldn't see them anytime you wanted to. You had to catch them on TV or see them in a magazine. And I remember my sister, me and her were both big Kiss fans. She was a little bit older than me, about 2.5 years older. And we used to argue over who was going to be Ace or who was going to be Peter Criss. And I liked to be Peter Criss because I played drums, and she liked being Ace because she'd play the air guitar. And we did the same thing that he talked about. We would put the Kiss album on, and we'd be in the bedroom, and we'd put the Kiss album on, and we'd be in there dancing around, jumping off the bed, jumping up and down, playing air guitar, and it was just amazing time. And I remember I used to always be a little afraid of Gene. Gene was Gene was the demon. Had the blood coming out of his mouth on the solo album. That that demonic laugh and everything. And Gene tried to be scary. There's always bats in his background of his pictures, or he had skull rings on. Gene was kind of creepy. But I love that. That really hits home with me. A lot of the things that these guys have said in their videos have really hit home with me. Now, the last people I have a video from is a channel called Dark Ride Films, and it's Amy and Andy, and got the link to their channel down in the description to check them out. And I remember finding them. I was looking for Kiss album reviews, and they do some Kiss album reviews, but they don't have like a fully dedicated Kiss channel. They do a lot of things like horror stuff. They also do things like lists, like top 10 lists, top 20 lists, and they do a bunch of different things. Plus they cover a bunch of different bands, everything from Danzig to Type O Negative to Kiss to everybody. And they have a really great channel. They're really super people. You couldn't ask for two nicer people. And so I asked them to submit a video, and so they talked about their first Kiss album, and here it is.
What is up, In My Head viewers? Amy Halloween.
Dracula Amy.
We are from Dark Ride Films. We're also fans of the In My Head channel, where they talk about Kiss all the time, even though I always disagree with Steven on his reviews. Lots of great stuff on this channel, though.
Lots.
Awesome, cool things, and so we were asked to contribute a little thing about what was our first Kiss album.
So
that's tough for me. My mom taped Kiss Meets the Phantom of the Park on a rerun, WLVI, Channel 56, if you're from Boston. And I fell in love with it. It was on my Saturday morning cartoon tape. This is like an 80s rebroadcast, when I was tiny. And I thought Kiss were superheroes, so I wanted like a Kiss record. And my cousin, who's way older, had seen Kiss a bunch of times in the 70s. He's got stories that would make you drool. His
Yep.
Kiss stories.
He's seen
taking
things.
2 chicks to the Kiss concert in Providence. Just good times. I'll keep it G-rated. But he had some Kiss records that he was getting rid of.
Yes.
And so it's hard to remember the exact one because I got it literally probably around 5 years old, 4 or 5 years old. But the one that comes to mind that he had, that I begged him for because I love the cover, was this one right here, Rock and Roll Over. I love this record. I remember getting a Beat to Hell copy from him and just taking it home, staring at the cover, loving it, just everything about it. So I've got really good fond memories of this thing. He didn't, he had probably stuck the sticker on who the hell knows where, so I didn't have any of the inserts or any of the cool stuff. I didn't discover that stuff till later. But this record, I adore this record. I love every track on here, with the exception of Hard Luck Woman. And
definitely my favorite Kiss record.
yeah, no, this album's awesome. I love it. It's still I love this artwork. It's fantastic. Very cool. This I believe was the first one I ever heard. I also remember getting Dynasty right around the same age at a flea market for $1.
Nice.
But the guy had written $1 in giant marker Sharpie on the cover, $1.
No.
So I had that $1 copy from him. So it was one or the other, but that was it. Fell in love with Kiss, and from then on, spent way too much money and devoted way too much time to Kiss. All right, so what's yours?
My first Kiss record is different than the first time I heard Kiss. The first time I heard Kiss, I was going through my dad's little CD cabinet, back when the CD cabinet was part of the entertainment center, because the TV was too damn big to put on anything else. And I would open it up and I would go through his CDs, try to find some music, and one day in particular, I came across a copy of Dress to Kill on CD. And I remember just seeing the cover and thinking, like, what is this? This is probably the craziest cover I've seen in here. And so I took it out and I checked it out and I heard some songs in there and I was like, wow, I really like this band. But it wasn't until years later that I got my first actual Kiss record. Since this is all about vinyl, the first Kiss record that I got was the first record.
The first album?
With the blue Casablanca labels without Kiss in Time.
Oh, you're
for
one of those
$5.
elitists.
No, it
That's
just
what it
happened to
was.
be the first copy that I came across. A first Kiss record. I was 18 years old. I had gone into the city. Probably a little too young to be wandering around the area that I was, but there was a really cool record store there. And I went in, checked it out, and I was like, oh, this would be cool to buy. And this is before anybody, obviously, long before people were back into the big vinyl thing. But being a Kiss fan, especially like in my teen years, I didn't really get to go anywhere and buy Kiss stuff. So now that I'm 18, I've got a car, I've got a job, I want to go check this stuff out. So I went into the city and I really wanted a Kiss record because of all the Kiss collectors that I knew, records were obviously a very sought after thing. So I went and I went to the section where it was like kind apparently just like a hard rock section. And I'm flipping through and I come across the first record, and it was in like this really, I mean, it was a really, really beat up copy of it. And it was a really dusty plastic sleeve, and it had written on the sleeve, you know, that plastic sleeve, you know, first pressing without kissing time, and I didn't even know what that was yet. And I'm like, oh, this must be rare, and it's only $5.
For $5 at the store.
Yeah, for $5 at the store. I mean, it was a very, really beat up copy, and I didn't even have a record player at the time. I just wanted, as a Kiss fan, and I'm like, you know, I'm 18, I'm finally out and being able to do stuff on my own. I just wanted the record so bad, and I just was like, $5? I have $5. You know?
That's it.
And I took it home with me, and from there I kept picking up, you know, just different Kiss records along the way, like Alive 2. I remember I found pretty early on, and Dress to Kill, Destroyer, and, you know, it was kind of history from there.
My cousin, he had like almost the whole Kiss discography. You just wouldn't give him up. So I didn't get to hear... like Alive 2, you couldn't fuck with that. You couldn't touch Alive 2 at all. It was like, no, this is... You can't have that. You can have this, but you can't have that.
You see the scapefold?
Yeah.
You can't have
But I remember opening it up, listening to it, staring at that inside cover, just being amazed. But he wouldn't let me take it home, so I had to wait till I could find my own copies.
Understandably.
But there you go. That was my first one. It's either that or Dynasty, right around the same time, 4 or 5 years old. And yours was Dressed to Kill. On CD, first one you heard, first one you got, the first album.
Yes.
So that's it. Stay tuned. Hear it in my head, the ultimate Kiss channel for all you Kiss heads, Kiss Army. And check out Dark Ride Films too. We, I don't know, we're alright. Alright.
We're a little nuts, so...
We'll see you.
And like I said it before, it's just funny when you hear people talk about their first Kiss album, and you hear things that they say that just strikes a chord with you because you lived it too. But I really appreciate all of my people who contributed to this video. There was one other person that I was trying to get to contribute, and I'm going to go ahead and mention her. Her name is Horror Gal Susan, and I think her channel is called Horror Gal. I'll put the link down in the bottom. And she actually discovered me and commented on my videos, said that she had been watching some of my videos. And I went over and checked her out, and I was super impressed. She's a Kiss fan, but she's kind of like Amy and Andy. She's kind of a horror girl. You know, she's a horror chick, and I love horror. I love horror, paranormal, that kind of stuff. And so I kind of just had an instant connection with her, and I tried to get in touch with her to make a video, and it just wasn't enough time. I mean, I think we've only been talking and known about each other for about a week, and she just didn't have enough time. But yeah, so check her out, and maybe me and her can collaborate on something in the future, and you know, maybe we'll have, I'd love to keep having collaborating videos, because I just love being in the community. I love having a sense of community, and if we all like Kiss and we all believe in what each of us is doing in our channels, there's no reason not to support each other. So before I get too long-winded and gone, I want to talk about my first Kiss album. And I don't even have it pulled out, so let me get it. My first Kiss album, and my story is, I've told it a little bit before on one of my videos, and on several of my videos probably. But I'll go ahead and say it again here. My first experience with Kiss, I was a big Elvis fan. And huge Elvis fan. And Elvis died when I was about 8 years old. He died in August of 1977. And I was just heartbroken. I remember crying. I remember just, you know, being heartbroken that Elvis had passed away. And so I lived with my grandmother and my mother. And so my grandmother took me down to, she went to the drugstore. And this is old school drugstores. Like this is in 77. This old school drugstores that still had, they sold records. They had a little record section. They also sold, they had like a little short order bar, not bar, but like a bar, like a short order grill. And they made milkshakes. And I remember going in there, and it was near the train tracks, and the train would go by. And you know, the train, you know how a train makes, how it makes that noise where it goes clunk, clunk, clunk. You know, I'd sit and I'd tap my spoon on the counter, and you know, and I remember one time the guy that was doing the short order cooking, he's like, that kid's got good timing. And I ended up being a drummer. You know, I started playing drums after listening to this album that I'm getting ready to show you. But I remember being in the store that day, and I was just heartbroken. My grandma was going to buy me an Elvis album to kind of help console me, but they didn't have any Elvis albums. And so she's like, well, honey, pick out any album you want, because she knew I was heartbroken. And they used to make these things where it was an album and it had a comic book inside of it. And you opened up the comic book, you put the album on, and the album it was like a dramatization of the comic book. It had the sound effects and the noises and the voices and everything, and you just read along the comic book. Well, I was looking through it, and my grandma was looking through it with me, and she saw this album right here. And she thought that this album was one of the comic book albums because it had these 4 guys on the front, and it looked very like a comic. And she's like, why don't you get you one of these albums? And I was like, Kiss Destroyer. I don't know. So I took it home, started listening to it, put it on, and how does Destroyer start? With the sound effects, with the guy working on the car or whatever, and then you hear him get in the car and he's driving down the road. And I'm sitting and waiting on the dialect to start. I'm like, and where's the comic book at? I mean, there was nothing. The only thing that was in there, inside of it, was this. There was no comic book in there. There was the album, and I was like, who's the Kiss Army? And what's these words? I feel uptight on a Saturday night, And but the first Kiss song I ever heard, Detroit Rock City. Off of this, the first album I ever owned, Destroyer. And I was captured. And I think that's why to this day, Detroit Rock City is probably one of my top, if it's not my favorite Kiss song, it's in the top 3. Top 2, it's either 1, 2, or 3. It's the song that and it's my ringtone on my phone. I mean, and people love, they like for me to delay. When my phone rings, they like for me to delay. I stop it, they're like, oh, they love Detroit Rock City. And I've never gone tired of it. Never. I know some people, they hate it. Some people hate this album. Now, I've reviewed this album, and I think I'll put the end of my review for this at the end of this video. So you can see that I'm not a fan of all the songs on this album. And but this is an original. Now, this is not my original. I don't have any of my original albums. They all got stolen. But this is original album. And I have the 45. I picked this up in a store. And then the other copies I have of this is I also have this copy here is the limited edition black and red swirl. It's still sealed. This is the 180 gram version that's still sealed. And then I have Destroyer Resurrected, which is still sealed. So, Destroyer is my first album. And like I said, I don't like everything about it. I love Detroit Rock City. Like I said, you can watch the review at the end of this. You can click the link and watch the review at the end of this. And yeah, I mean, I remember, I got it from a drugstore that, no longer exists. The building's still there, but it's not a drugstore anymore. And my grandma got it for me. And I got Kiss Alive 2 shortly after. Kiss Alive 2 had probably just came out because I remember Double Platinum, I don't think it came out yet. If it had, I didn't have it. But I don't think it not came out. And I remember the solo albums coming out. I remember going down to J. Joe's Records and getting the solo albums, got all 4 of them. Got it, you got this bag if you bought all 4 solo albums. And I remember when Dynasty came out. I remember waiting in line outside of J. Joe's Records outside the record store to get inside and get a physical copy, and they ran out. They did not have enough albums to give everybody. I got mine, but they didn't have enough albums for everybody that wanted it. Those days are long gone. Rick waxes and wanes on missing record stores and stuff like that. The days of waiting in line for a record to go on sale, I don't know if it ever still happens. But I knew it happened even up into the later on. Like, I remember waiting in line to get the Black Album from Metallica. I remember waiting in line to get Use Your Illusion 1 and 2. I remember waiting in line to get those. Waiting in line for the record store to open up inside the mall or out on the street. So yeah, so that is my recollection of my first Kiss album, and I hope you enjoyed this video, and I want to thank each and every one of my contributors who contributed to the video. Check them out. Subscribe to all of them. Man, they're all awesome. Trust me, I won't lead you wrong. Subscribe to all of them. If you're one of my 1,200 subscribers, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And if you're not a subscriber yet, click that subscribe button. I've got some cool stuff, trust me. And it's going to get even cooler. I've got a lot of stuff. My 2019 is already planned. I've got about 6 or 7, possibly 8 videos in the works right now as we speak. Yeah, but I appreciate you guys. And thank you for an awesome first year. It's been amazing. And here we are. I'm getting ready to start my second year, and I've got so much planned for the channel. And I would like for each and every one of you to be there to see what's going to happen. And like I said, once again, appreciate all my contributors. Thank you so much for taking the time to do this. I'm going to get out of here. I'm Brant. This is In My Head channel, 1 year anniversary video. And I'll see you all next time. Thanks for watching.